You probably know the feeling. Hours fly by and suddenly you realize you've been gaming way longer than you had planned. So why is it so hard to stop? I've definitely been there before and will probably end up there again. Just one more level, one more quest, one more match. It's like our brains are wired for this. And in a way, they are. The same instincts that helped our ancestors survive are what keeps us hooked on gaming today. And in today's video, I want to break down how games tap into these ancient survival instincts and why it's so difficult to step away even when it starts interfering with other priorities and long-term goals. Being aware of this mechanism is, in my opinion, the first step in regaining control of your time and your life. Once you understand why it happens, you can start making conscious decisions about when and how you play. So let's start with the why. Why is it so easy to get hooked on gaming? It's most certainly not about just having fun or wasting time. In fact, our brain is designed to crave the kind of instant gratification that games do provide. And this seeking of instant gratification goes all the way back to prehistoric humans. In her book, The Willpower Instinct, psychologist Kelly McGonigal explains that our brains evolved to seek out immediate rewards. Back in the olden days, when our ancestors were mostly focused on survival, they needed that quick dopamine rush to encourage behaviors like collecting, learning, and seeking shelter. And that same system, of course, still drives our decisions today, even when we're just sitting on the couch playing games. The first time you level up, complete a quest, win a match, your brain gets a hit of dopamine along with some other neurotransmitters, just like it would have when you found food or creatively solved a problem in the past. This feel-good chemical both rewards you and, more importantly, starts the feedback loop that keeps you coming back again and again. This is in part why gaming can feel so addictive. Every small victory feeds that part of your brain that's wired for immediate rewards. But our modern brains can't always tell the difference between something that's critical for survival versus something that's just for fun. It treats both with the same resulting dopamine release. Think about the last time you really got hooked on a game. What was the moment that kept you coming back for more? For me, I love RTS and Sid Meier's Civilization type games. I get that dopamine hit the moment I drop in and start building and planning my expansion to outmaneuver my opponent. That's what always pulls me back. But I'm curious about other people's experiences. Let me know in the comments. So while the dopamine feedback loop is a key part of the draw to video games, it's not just about these quick rewards. There's another reason our brains enjoy gaming, and that's energy conservation. McGonigal explains that our brains are designed to conserve energy wherever possible. In the wild, this meant saving up your energy for critical moments like running away from a predator or chasing after food or building new tools. Of course, that's oversimplifying it, but it helps with the explanation. Today, of course, our brains still want to be efficient with energy, so it's naturally drawn to activities that are engaging but don't require too much caloric effort. And let's face it, gaming is that perfect balance. You can sit back, relax, and still feel this false sense of achievement with little to no physical activity. It's like a mental workout without all of the physical exertion. So when you're playing a game, it's not just about passing time. You're actually tapping into that same system that helped our ancestors survive, except now you get the same exact hit of neurotransmitters without the actual risks or energy costs. So no wonder it's so addictive. But I do want to talk a little bit more about dopamine itself because it's not as simple as it's often portrayed. Every time you achieve something in a game, or more accurately, every time you are anticipating achieving something, your brain releases dopamine. And even worse, in gaming, you get these little dopamine hits almost constantly. Games are designed to give you rewards at just the right moment, keeping you hooked and wanting to continue. And this creates the feedback loop. You achieve something, get a dopamine rush, and then you crave the next achievement. But the timing of the dopamine rush changes as you get more experience with the particular achievements. And this is a big part of why it's so hard to stop. Like I mentioned earlier, I personally get the biggest dopamine hit when I anticipate all the expansion moves I plan to make to outmaneuver my opponent, not at all when I actually win the round. Winning or losing the round just makes me crave starting over. While our primitive brain is loving all these dopamine hits, our prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning and willpower, is trying to step in. As McGonigal explains, these two parts of your brain are constantly fighting when it comes to willpower. Your willpower, the part of your brain that's thinking about long-term goals like work, study, or even getting a good night's sleep, has to battle against the instant gratification other parts of your brain are continually craving. This creates that internal conflict we're all too familiar with. Just one more turn versus I really need to apply for more jobs or study for that new certification. It's not just about discipline either. It's about understanding how your brain is wired and why it's so difficult to pull away. Modern games are really designed to take full advantage of the system, which makes the fight against short-term pleasure and long-term goals really difficult. Even when you're not really enjoying the game anymore, when you're feeling burnt out or your focus is slipping, you often still find it hard to stop playing. That's because after a period of time, dopamine doesn't even come from the reward itself. It's released in anticipation of the next reward. And this keeps you going. This is why you might catch yourself continuing to play even when you're exhausted, not because you're having a good time, but because your brain continues to crave that next win, that next achievement, that next hit of dopamine. The promise of what could happen is enough to keep you going even when you're not really having fun anymore. The trouble is that on some level, gaming can be beneficial. From an evolutionary standpoint, gaming might actually be satisfying some of our most basic psychological needs. When you're playing a game, obviously you're not just asleep or disassociated with reality. You're actually engaging in activities such as learning, creativity, or problem solving. Whether it's figuring out the best strategy to outsmart your opponent or mastering a complex set of rules, games do train your brain in problem solving and adaptability. From a strategic standpoint, gaming can teach you how to think on your feet, make quick decisions, and manage mental resources. Skills that have always been crucial for survival. And then there's the social aspect. All humans have at least some level of need to connect with others, and multiplayer games, whether cooperative or competitive, do tap into that need for social bonding and collaboration. I also think that even NPCs can fill this need to a lesser degree. In either case, you are working with teammates, negotiating tactics, and even building friendships. I personally have fond memories of characters from Mass Effect like Garrus and Liara, even though they're not real, which is just wild to me. So is it really a waste if gaming is satisfying these fundamental needs? Learning new skills, practicing strategy, socializing, or even just wanting to unwind after a long day? These are certainly important parts of what makes us human. And gaming, when done mindfully, can certainly improve our lives. At the end of the day, maybe it's not about gaming being good or bad. It's about recognizing how it fits into your own life, what it does offer, and how it can help you grow if you approach it in the right way. That said, it's really easy to justify things to ourselves and rationalize bad decision making. There's always a risk of self-deception in thinking, oh, I'm just doing this to work on my brain and socialize. I think the truth is that different people have varying needs and, more importantly, varying abilities to control the amount of time they spend playing video games, which leads me into the next section about finding balance. So how do you enjoy gaming without it taking over your life? How can you strike that balance between short-term fun and your long-term goals like your education, your family, your career? I think a big part is realizing that gaming, like many other habits, can be part of a balanced life. It's not always about quitting cold turkey, and especially it's not about feeling guilty every time you load up a new game. Instead, it's about understanding when gaming is actually helping you to relax, to connect, to grow, and then understanding when it's getting in the way of these other things that matter in life. I do think it's fine for some people to take the generic advice from psychology and counseling, stuff like setting a time limit for your gaming sessions or using gaming as a reward, for example, after finishing some work or a study session, and then relaxing with some well-earned gaming time. But I don't personally have a lot of success with that because it's so easy to deceive myself into thinking, oh, it's Saturday, so I can relax after a long week. But then that tends to blow my Saturdays out, and then Sundays are ruined by all the catch-up chores I have to do to get ready for Monday. I'm just not personally a fan of that generic advice, to be honest. I think it's really important to recognize when gaming is getting out of balance. If you notice that you're gaming more out of habit rather than enjoyment, or if you're putting off important tasks in order to keep playing, that generic advice probably won't work for you either. And everyone's balance does look different, and that's okay. The important thing is to find what works for you, which will require some time and experimentation. Some people do actually enjoy short, focused gaming sessions, while others enjoy longer sessions on the weekends. As long as you're aware of how gaming fits into your life and you're still taking care of your other priorities, it's probably okay. Honestly though, I don't have all the answers. For me, gaming has sometimes had a negative impact in my life. That's why I've been trying to limit it more and replace it with habits that feel more fulfilling and don't leave me feeling burnt out. But honestly, I'm still figuring it out. One thing I have noticed is that whatever I do first in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. If I start gaming early, I'm usually less productive for the rest of the day, so I've made it a rule to push gaming to the afternoon or evening after I've dealt with my priorities. This approach has definitely helped me stay more on track. But I'm really curious to know what works for you. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you manage gaming in your own life? And what strategies have worked for you to find balance? This topic is not something I usually discuss, but I think it has a lot of relevance to managing a career in tech, since a lot of us are gamers. Potentially, I'll do more of this kind of stuff in the future, but we'll see. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more discussions on navigating a career in tech. And with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.